This is the Selected Podcast, your backstage pass and exclusive access to some of the biggest names in the tech industry. Brought to you by Sesamers, the definitive name in tech event media.
Hi there, this is Ben from Sesamers, recording live from Paris at CIAL Paris 2024. We're diving into conversations about food innovation and the future of the food industry, with leaders who are shaping this rapidly evolving sector. Today I'm honored to have Nadav Berger with me, the founding general partner of PeakBridge Ventures. Nadav is a third-generation food industrialist and a visionary in the world of food tech. With decades of experience in food applications, marketing and distribution, Nadav is at the forefront of investing in technologies that are revolutionizing the food systems. Hi Nadav, how are you doing?
I'm great. It's great to be in Paris, and I love Paris. I studied French at school, and I used to speak French to my grandmother. So for me to come back to Paris is exciting, and I think that CIAL is it's truly one of the most important trade shows for food in the world, but one of the two leading in Europe. And it's exciting to be here, and I think that what you guys have done is exceptional. And I have a perspective because this is my 12th CIAL, which is every other year. So you can imagine how old I am.
24 years plus the COVID, so 26.
Yeah, but I haven't been too old, so it's even longer. But it's fascinating to see that actually only for the last few editions, startups is starting to come to the food traditional industry. I personally won CIAL d'Or in 2000.
In 2000?
Yeah.
What was it with? What was the...
I developed, together with Rich's product from the US, I developed a non-dairy creamer for savory cooking. And at the time, it was like a small competition. There was no event, no startups pavilion. The innovation just started. So it's fascinating to see what happened since then to today. You guys are doing a great job. Chapeau.
Thank you. The CIAL organizers are the one who had this vision of building a central point for startups. I wanted to understand how you came up to create a VC firm. Explain a bit more, your thesis at PeakBridge. What is it you're doing there?
So it's interesting. I think that, some of us are more disciplined than others, but all of us need to leave a little bit room of open window for the wind to take us to different routes, right? So I spent all my life being third generation in food, and one of the ventures that I've built together with two partners was an application lab named Food Lab. And when I saw that the smart people of Food Lab are creating literally unicorns for other people based on the technology and development of products that they did, I said to myself, this is nuts because we're not part of the successes, right? So it made me to create the first fund for food tech in Israel. And
when was it? Which year?
2014.
Okay.
10 years ago. And Israel really became a hub for food technology innovation, especially in alternative proteins. And it's still an important hub for that. So actually, reality took me from R&D and application development into venturing. And then from an Israeli fund, together with my business partner, who came from the Nestle corporate fund, we started a global player, which is PeakBridge.
And so so it's your third fund right now?
We have three funds, and we're starting to plan the fourth one.
How big is the fund? What are the typical ticket size? Give us the ID card of the fund, please.
So we have a very centric seed funds focusing only in Europe.
Okay.
And by the way, I don't know where your audience come from, but Europe is amazing because it's very modest, and the science and R&D is very deep. If you think of companies like Nestle, Danone, Bueller, it's just so much happening, and academia is top notch, right? So Europe is a great place to invest in. So we have a seed fund in Europe, and then we have global funds, the first one and now the second, investing globally in the later stages of the life of companies. So
got it. I read preparing this interview that you stopped eating red meat recently.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. How did that impact your work as an investor?
I think that it's the opposite. My work as an investor impacted my diet. So when you are being exposed to the harms and price environmental and physical personal price of eating red meat, I think that you stop eating red meat, or at least you become flexitarian, or you eat less red meat, right? So it's the price that we pay as humanity is unbearable. And it's interesting. We just had our PeakBridge offsite, and we brought as a keynote speaker, we brought a legend in the industry, Bernard van Lengerich, the guy that, beside of being the CTO of Bueller, CSO, General Mills, and so forth, he also created Beyond Meat, the technology, the prototypes, and so forth. And we asked him, let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? Is this plant-based is here to stay, or it's a fashion fad? And his answer was very clear. He said, don't pay attention to the price, the share price of Beyond Meat or someone else. The revolution is here, and it has to happen because we don't have the land and water to grow more animals, right? Now, the demand for meat is growing, but we don't have the resources. So eventually this will come into, or this will be shown at the price of the meat. Because today you don't pay the real price of the
there's
steak
also a lot of subsidies, right?
because of subsidies. And the agriculture lobby in the US is so powerful that it's sponsoring and making sure that we unfortunately consume so much meat. But eventually we will have to pay the real price for meat, and this is where it's going to decline, and we're going to see more and more plant-based or other options coming to our table.
One of the things that we learned here with the different speakers and experts who are joining us at Seattle Startups is that 2 years ago at this show, it was all about alternative proteins and new meat, right? And not so much now. It's like almost like a lot of these companies maybe disappeared already. So there was like a peak, maybe a hype. You're in the industry. Why do you think it happened? And what is happening now that makes it exciting for you to invest in this space?
So I have a lot to say about it. So I'm happy. I think that we're in a good position with this revolution, because it started with a hype, definitely a hype, and you could see generalists, general VCs getting into this space without understanding a word about food and how complex food is and what you need to achieve and so forth. So definitely 100% agree that there was a hype, but the fundamental problems remains. It's just, instead of having 1,000 companies like Beyond Meat, probably only the best will survive and scale and get to huge audiences. And at the end of the day, you have to remember that in food, it has to do with scale. You have to produce it, right? It's not just to have a great prototype that tastes well. You have to produce it in scale that can serve millions of consumers, right? And then you have to get the distribution, production, distribution, safety, regulation to get to the millions. Only when it gets to the millions, you get the effect that you want to achieve, if you want to make an effect, right? And for that, you need to collaborate with the big players. So we're the Nestle's, the Unilevers, those guys, and they're adopting those solutions but they will do it their way. They don't need a small startup from Wageningen. They can buy those startups, but at the end of the day, they have the muscles.
Do they acquire startups?
I don't think they will acquire startups. They will acquire startups. We can speak about innovation with the big CPGs and brands, right?
It's not.
They have two different approaches.
Yeah.
They have the innovation arm, R&D, and they have the M&A arm, right? Now, the big checks are M&A. But M&A buy the brands.
Exactly. They buy the brands.
Companies. So if your company is getting, reach, let's say 100 million in sales, which most startup will not do, right? Then probably one of the big guys will come and buy you. And for them, price is less sensitive, because the day after, they will get this from 100 mil to $1 billion, because they have the muscles, they have the distribution, they have the factories and so forth, right? The R&D and open innovation people will look for the specific technologies that can improve their own product. So they will buy specific features that can help them. Or what they will do, they will listen to their vendors. right? So if I have a great flavor house, by the way, we have one, right? You should pay attention to Mediterranean Food Lab. But can this flavor house sell to Nestle? Should they sell to Nestle? I don't think so. I think that in order to become an improved supplier of Nestle and have all the everything which is needed and get the attention of Nestle, it will take years, right? Now they have all the approvals, but just to get in and to be able to sell Nestle, I don't think that startups have the time and means to do that, and they shouldn't. So in between, there is a huge ecosystem of vendors.
I heard so much about this from food tech investors. Like I heard that is mission critical in that space because there's money for the deep tech R&D based, and there's money for the M&A acquisition space. But it's sort of in between that you're describing is where there's a big gap and the VCs might not come in to solve it. It's up to the startup to get clients to grow their market and then become maybe ready for the M&A, which is far away. So we'll talk about 100 million. So I heard that there's a gap, and that's probably what you, with PeakBridge, you come in to also solve it in part, right?
This is why we shaped our strategy. Our strategy is we invest only in B2B,
Yeah.
only in scalable, protected technologies. So we don't do brands, right? If, as I said, there are two routes. If you build a brand and eventually want to exit, from whatever reason, right? You want to make money or you want to make a really impact. You have to talk to the big guys. They're buying multiples on sales and EBITDA. This is not the play that we play, right?
Yeah.
We're looking into technologies that can improve products. If we spoke about plant-based, it's all about flavor and texture, right? We have multiple companies here in the show, and one of them is Rival, with a lot of technology from Wageningen University to improve texture.
Of chicken.
Chicken, meat, whatever. So alternative solutions, right? My point is that, again, we just concluded our offsite and we analyzed where are the exits in food tech, right? And most of exits, exciting exits in food tech is actually in the ingredient space. Now, if you build a brand, good luck. This is the M&A people at the big CPGs.
Yeah.
But if you want to get into B2B place, you better invest or look at opportunities in ingredients. And there you have a beautiful ecosystem from the ABCD, EDM, Bangdi, Cargill, Dreyfus to the flavor houses, Givaudan, Firmenich, DSM. Those guys would love to buy startups, not at seed, but let's say after you prove scale and IP.
Even companies like in cosmetics, like L'Oreal, or they are also looking at that space, I see.
Yeah, it's a great point. So I think that there is an overlap when it comes to ingredients between ingredients that are active or can do an impact both on beauty care and health and nutrition.
And
So this is a very interesting intersection.
Fascinating. Thank you so much.
We need 3 hours, no? It's like
I know. I read also like how you, as you are investing in seed, I assume that what you look first and foremost are the people, the team, the CEO. That's the first thing you look into when you decide to invest at seed. Can you tell us about your experience there and what are the skills, the stuff that you look into? And also I read that you like to have, to eat, to have food, to know someone better, right?
Yeah, I think that it's connected. I think that investments in general and specifically in startups, at the end of the day, it's all about the people because the technology is not there. You don't come to a company with 3 factories and you look at the team and structure and, cost of goods and so forth. It's come early when it's early. And by the way, we have a later stage funds, right? We invest up to C rounds. But at the beginning, the human factor is crucial. And I think that if you really want to get to know a person, you have to have a great meal with to really decide if you want to spend at least 10 years of your life with such a person. And let me share with you my personal story. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. So PeakBridge is, I think part of the PeakBridge culture is that we also understand the entrepreneurship culture, right? I had a friend in New York who managed, he's managing a huge family office. And when we came to him with the idea of PeakBridge, he liked it because he knew me for a decade. He trusted me, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to anchor you with 10 million euros." Sounds great, right?
Yeah.
He did it only because he knew me,
Yeah.
right? But my response was shocking to him. And my response was, "Dude, I can't take your money." He was shocked. And I said, you manage a multi-billion family office, but I need to know the family, right? It took us 3 months until we got a meeting
the
with
meeting.
the principals, had an amazing lunch. 5 minutes into the lunch, when this ultra or multi-billionaire served me, he took the first dish and actually served me.
Like it did the service for you.
Immediately, I felt like those are the guys that I would like to partner with.
Yeah.
And I think that we're together since then. So by having a great meal with someone is crucial to decide if you want to marry, because actually it's kind of a marriage, right? You spend most of your life at work, and specifically if you are an entrepreneur, it takes 80% of your time. Choose well your investors, right? It's not only about the money. Do due diligence on your investors. Talk to the portfolio companies. Look how they behave. Do they add value? If it's just a stupid money, okay, but just know about it, right? We are proud to try and be an added value, and we have a very specific, measured program for each company on the value add plans for them. So, due diligence your investors, have a great meal with, feel comfortable, and if not, don't do the deal.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this program that you're mentioning, just to get a sense of what it is?
So when we look at the opportunities, we do reverse engineering to the normally optimistic business plan that those entrepreneurs come with, right? Now remember, most of us come from the food industry, so we've been to hundreds of thousands of factories. We know what it takes to scale. We know what it takes to invest in capex. We hate it. We know regulation, how long it takes. So probably we know a little bit more than the great entrepreneurs, right? But they have the passion, they have the technology, they have the kickstart and so forth. So we do kind of reverse engineering to their plan, and we look at the gaps, what is needed to reach from, let's say, A to B or C or D, and then we plan where should we or where can we add value? What is needed to be done in order to help the company and the leadership to get to the next level or the level. We also work with some preferred suppliers. So, for example, we have an IP consultant, right? I think that is one of the top in the world. She's a scientist by profession, but she became an IP lawyer, right? So we offered her services to our portfolio companies, but it's between them, right?
Yeah.
So
You invested
she
in
knows
provider, said she's good. They're up to them.
So it's a win-win-win because we trust her. If she will tell us, "Oh, this is rubbish" or "this is brilliance," right? Then we cut off part of the due diligence already because we trust her. If the startup starts to work with her, and again, it's between them, they know that she knows food tech. She's done dozens of food tech companies, right? So having preferred suppliers, having a biz dev solutions, we love to co-invest. So sometimes we get into a company, we present a term sheet, but then we call friends to co-invest with us. And this is value that most funds don't have, because then we can cover greater and larger round just by inviting people that we trust and appreciate for adding more value to those companies.
What is the average size of a round at seed in this space?
So in our seed stage, we probably will invest something like between $500,000 to $1 million. And then in later stages, we probably will invest something between 3 to 8 million.
And the valuations, what do they look like?
Valuation is it's a tricky question.
I know, but I just try to understand.
So do you want the valuation of CL 22 or CL 24? We're happy to be in CL 24. So valuation dropped, but for the right reasons.
Yeah, the
Because
price was too high in 21, 22.
there is a correction.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's all about, if you see eye to eye, or, it's a mutual interest to do something logical, reasonable for the startups. Startups need to plan their fundraising. Even if we will invest in a startup today, the startups need to think about the next and the next funding rounds, because the founders need to think about their interests, right? Where they will be if they're going to raise an additional 2 rounds. Will they be diluted? Will they still have interests? If they were raising a too high valuation now, and God forbid next round it will be a down round, very bad for the company, right? So when you look at fundraising, don't look at the immediate, just now fundraising. Even if people offer you a lot of money, plan in advance the full journey until hopefully successful exits.
Very valuable feedback and advice. As we are about to wrap up, you just mentioned Cial Paris. How is your experience so far? What are you looking for when you come to a show like this one?
So as I said, I love Cial, but to be completely frank, and especially in France,
Yeah.
if you walk the 6-8 halls, right, excluding the startup hub or
Which were in
section,
between the 5 and 6. So yeah.
correct, which is fascinating, right? I really enjoy this. I tried to look in the other halls and I realized what I knew, but when you see it in France, you realize how conservative, not open for changes the food industry is.
Yeah.
And it's all derived by the gross margins. It's an industry that at the end of the day feeds.
So what you're mentioning, just for our listeners who don't really know about the holes and Cial, you're mentioning areas where there's particularly meat, for example, like
I was shocked to see the meat section growing.
the meat
This
section
is 2024.
is still growing.
Okay. But actually, this is also truth because people consume more meat, God forbid, right? It's crazy. And so the meat industry has to address this, but it's very sad for us as a people and for our planet, right?
And here we are at the heart of innovation. Even if it's a small percentage of Cial, this is the one that is building the future.
And to close the loop, remind you that, I've been to many Cials,
Yeah.
and a couple of years ago, there was no innovation at all.
Yeah.
So actually, I think that we're on the great path to solve some of the most urgent issues of our planet and people.
Thank you so much. Where can people learn more about PeakBridge Ventures and your work? Where can we find you online?
So it's PeakBridge, PeakBridge. So the idea behind it is, as food people, we want to be the bridge helping those amazing entrepreneurs to get to the peaks and from one peak to another, right? It's a long journey. And this is why we called it the Peak Bridge, because we want to be this bridge. And it's not only by having money, it's all the added value that I mentioned before. So just look for peakbridge.vc or PeakBridge on LinkedIn. PeakBridge invests a lot of efforts in providing genuine deep dives and data about the food tech scene. So I think that it's worth following and reading what we have to say about the food industry and food tech industry.
Thank you so much for your time, Nadav.
Thank you so much. You did an amazing job here in Cial 2024. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. We're live from Cial Startups at Cial Paris 2024. Again, a huge thanks to the Cial team, our Sesamers team for making this podcast possible. And don't forget to subscribe to the selected podcast for more conversations on the future of food, innovation, and entrepreneurship. See you soon on Sesamers.